Hello, today we are going to test the CPU consumption of Open Broadcasting Software (OBS) in Linux computer. I'm totally using a free software environment. So let me show you the configuration of the hardware first. This is this is an Intel i3 processor running at the maximum is 3 gigahertz. It is currently running at 1.6 gigahertz. As you see, the memory here is 8 gigabytes, and the processor is not very busy, and the CPU is only uh, there are there are 2 cores, and it looks like it's almost idle. So the CPU is almost idle, doing nothing and doing nothing. Both CPUs are doing nothing. Now let me start. This is Ubuntu Linux, and I have 2 decklink cards inside there. Sorry, I cannot see. 2 decklink cards, 3 decklink cards, one 4K decklink, one mini capture, and one output, which I cannot make work yet at this moment. So let's start OBS and see what happens with the processor. The goal of this video is to help people estimate how much processor and memory does their setup need, because it costs money. So the best way is to really estimate properly, and this video will help. When I start OBS, so I have OBS now without the blank, it's just a blank scene. As you see, OBS is consuming about 6% of CPU even if it's not doing anything. So it's not bad, it's just running. And let me add a scene. You see, this is a decklink. I'm going to add one scene here. I'll call it cam1. Yeah, and then I'll add one of the cameras up there are playing videos, recorded videos, to simulate a real camera. So I'll just put cam1 here, decklink cam1, and click OK. And I'll choose a device. I'll choose the mini recorder. I'll choose a proper resolution. I'm using 1080i, and I get a video. I'm using buffering, and I just click OK. Where's the OK button? Yeah. Now let's check our OBS. Now it's consuming 15% of the 2 cores, 2 CPUs. Each core is 8 and 5 and 8 and 8. So about 15% for one scene. And as you see, the scene is too big. I'll just scale this to transform this to fit to the screen. And there it is. Let's see if it changes. Still 15% CPU. Now I'll add another. It looks like let me check I think the size of the output is not correct. I want to have a 1080. This is my screen size, but I want to put instead 1982 1920 times 1080. The same thing. To get the correct resolution, full resolution. Okay, we have resized. Now it's still 15%. Now let me try to transform this back to fit the screen easily. Okay, now we have the correct aspect ratio and correct resolution. When I just adjusted it, it became a little bit like 17%, but it's back to 15, 16%. If I try to do a transition, let me see if, okay, we are transitioning to ourselves, it's just 16%. Now let me add the other camera. Just put cam 2. Okay, add another camera, black magic device. I'll put direct link cam 2. Okay, and I'll choose the 4K card, and I'll choose a proper resolution 1080i 59, and I'll just put OK. Now we have two sources and we are up to 22%. So from this we will know that the number of scenes affect the number of the percent of processors that are being used. Let's try to get out of studio mode. It goes to 23. We are in this mode. The number is 19. Aha! It went back to 15. If we go back, so 15%. I think I should resize this one. Let me just try to resize this thing. Yep, so we can see it better. So it looks like the more displays we have, the more CPU we use. If I click studio mode, CPU goes up to 20%, still the same, 20%. If I try to switch scenes, 21%. Transitioning, we get 20%. If I'm only in studio mode, then something happened. Let me just quit OBS. Let's see. In studio mode, we are on 18%, 19%, almost the same. So it doesn't matter how many displays we have. Maybe what matters is, let me just observe how many scenes we have. If we do transitions, so at 2 scenes we have 2 capture devices. We have, now let me create a picture in picture or side by side scene here, where I'm going to add both cards. And make them side by side. Watch the CPU, it has gone up 22%, and I want to add the other one. Okay, watch the CPU. It's now 25 and 22%. So if I shift here, and do transitions, it just increased to 24%. So there is an increase, slight increase in CPU usage when you add scenes. So actually the heaviest part here is when you start recording. When you start recording, you will see, as you see here, the CPU is 10% according to OBS, but according to the top, it's about 20% of both of the total CPU. So I really don't know. Now if we start recording, you will see that the CPU goes up to 66% at 30 frames per second, and the CPU here goes to 132%. Probably this is not the correct computation of OBS or of the top command. Let me see. So according to top, OBS consumes 130% of CPU, which is it's not doing anything. It's just 60%. So the total is like 60% of the CPU, and I think this is more correct. We have about 40% more to consume. So what takes a lot of CPU is the encoding to H.264, I guess, because when we put the output here, the encoder takes the processor. So that's I think what consumes the processor a lot. It will also help you decide whether you need a graphics card, a big graphics card, if OBS will use the graphics card or other things. So again, this is an i3 computer running at 3.3 gigahertz with a 3 megabyte cache, and Intel Core i3. The version is 3220, and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. So for simple things, this is okay. If we try to start to streaming from previous experiments, streaming really doesn't. I have a local server which I can stream to, and if I click OK, I try to stream. It says failed to connect to server. Let me try to correct that one. Okay, I think I need to wait a minute. Okay, I just started the Nginx server so that we can start streaming. As you see now, we are streaming, and it consumes 53% of the processor. If we start recording, up to 71, 69, so 60 to 70%. If we start recording, it's recording, but the processor is still the same. because OBS is using the same encoder for both streaming and recording according to the documentation or the user interface. If we stop streaming, it's still recording, still consumes that amount of CPU. That's still that amount of CPU. And as you see also here in the top, when we stop recording, then all encoding has stopped and we go back to about 12% of CPU for all the scenes. So just the scenes really don't consume too much processors. It's just encoding that consumes a lot of processor. But I think every capture card and every scene adds some kind of load to the processor. And to review that, let me see what happens if I remove. We are at 11%. When I remove the picture-in-picture scene, I want to remove this one. We are at 11%. Let me see. Yes. Now we are at 10%. But still 11%. Same thing. I remove camera 2. Yes. What happens to our processor? We are still, oh, it even becomes more. I think we are messed a little bit. Let me try to restart. Okay, there's only one scene. We are still at the same CPU percent. Oh, we went back. Now we are in 7% CPU. So the scenes, it looks like the scenes don't consume much CPU. It is the number of capture cards that consume CPU. So like a while ago, if we add another, okay, let me show one scene only, and I'll put 2 cards. I want to know if it's the cards, if it's the capture devices that consumes. I'll just put that link cam 2. We're at 8.3%. Let me see. We are at 8.9%. Now when I choose the card, I'll choose the 4K card. Let's see what happens to the percent under the window. It's 8.2%. I'll choose the link 4K. Okay, it's now at 10.3%, even without choosing correct resolution. Let's choose 1080 I59.94, and we have a display. Now we are at 11%, 12%, and so obviously, friends, each capture card consumes like maybe 9, 10, 11, 12, like 4% of processor here. And if I copy this, duplicate this scene, let's just say I duplicated the scene. We are still at 11%. Yeah. When we start the stream, we go to 70%. We stop the stream, we go back to 11%, I guess, 14%. We start recording, we go back to 72%. Stop recording, we go back to like 15%, 10 to 15%, 10%. So yeah, I think it's very obvious that each scene each scene adds little percent, streaming and recording adds big percent, each capture input also adds like 5% in this amount of processor. So thank you OBS guys for creating this very fantastic software. uh, have a nice day.